There's a wonderful quote from the Dhammapada, which some people call the original teachings of Buddha and the Buddhist doctrine. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If one speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows one like a shadow that never leaves. Change those thoughts, especially those thoughts that have been with you since you were a little boy or a little girl, that you've come to believe that it's difficult for me to overcome these things that I've had. We have a major obesity crisis in our culture. Something like 30% of our population are chronically obese. And will tell you, if I talk to them, that I can't do anything about that. I got fat genes. It's just something that's always been with me. I've never been able to overcome it. We have a major addiction crisis in our culture. People addicted not just to illegal things, but to legal things that cause enormous amounts of problems. And the belief that we can't overcome those things. People living in fear about the economy, about not being able to deal with something like losing a job or having a house foreclosed or whatever. The belief that has to be a depressing, awful, fearful kind of experience. These are all memes. These are all ideas. In a recession, there's great opportunity. And many people will take advantage of that because they just don't think that they want to live in something called fear. Each and every one of us has this. So we basically have two minds. Our first mind is the conscious mind. This conscious mind is the one that's making all of these decisions about everything that we're going to do on a regular basis, and we're kind of aware of the thoughts that we have and so on. And then there's this habitual mind. And this habitual mind is what some call the subconscious mind. I have a little trouble with the subconscious mind because if it's subconscious, it's below your level of being able to perceive it and use it and access it. So I use the term habitual mind with the understanding that what I have learned in Excuses Begone is that we can go into that habitual mind, that subconscious mind that has allowed us to stay in these places for so long, and we can retrieve a new way of being, a way of being that can happen quite quickly. I'll give you an example of that. I bring people from all over the country and all over the world to a 3-day workshop on overcoming excuses. And there was a woman who came there who had been binging and purging every day for 22 years. And she was very, very sickly. And she didn't look like she was going to even make it through the workshop. She is now a year and a half completely free of it, and she did it all and changed it in about 45 minutes of really examining the way that she was thinking, going through the steps in the Excuses Begone paradigm, and she looks radiant these days. I saw people who quit smoking who've never been able to do it by instantly examining some of the thoughts that keep them from being where they want to be. So every action that we have is a choice. And this program is really about choosing and not excusing. So the habits that we have are behaviors that we use over and over and over again. And they become just excuses from mind viruses and memes that we've carried with us for our lifetime. Now, I went to my website and I put out a request for everybody who visits that website. They would send to me the most common excuses that they use in their life for why their life isn't working the way they would like it to work. And I didn't put any limits other than that. Just tell me, what are they? And what I did is I took out the top 18 excuses. They are the entire third chapter of the book, and I'm going to share them with you because every single one of these are something that I know you've used, or if you haven't, you're living with someone who does. So here are the top 18. First one, if I want to change, it's going to be difficult. Change is difficult. It's a meme. Whether it's true or not, we're going to examine a little bit later. It's going to be risky. In other words, if I were to do this and try this, whatever it might be, make these changes, it's going to involve risk. It's a meme. It's a mind virus. It's going to take a long time. You know, it's taken me 40 years to become this way, and I've been living this way, so it's going to take me another 40 years. Well, you don't have 40 years. You know? But nevertheless, it's going to take a long time. If I were to do and live the kind of life that I would like to live, there's going to be family drama. There's going to be people out there, aunts and uncles and in-laws and people. They're going to, you know, if I wanted to move to Montana or if I wanted to take up a new career, there's going to be huge family drama. Total meme. Whether it's true, mostly unlikely, unless you decide that that's what you want your life to be. I don't deserve it. A meme. How could there be anything out there in this world that you don't deserve? You are a piece of God. How could the source, how could God create something, anyone that isn't deserving of all of the abundance and all of the prosperity and all of the love that comes from the source? It's not my nature. Your nature is a meme. The idea that this, you know, that you're shy because you can't do anything about that. It's not my nature. I can't afford it. This is one of my all-time favorites, and I'll deal with it a little bit later in the program. The idea that you can't afford to do something is one of the largest mind viruses that have been placed upon you, and it's something that I would urge you to never say again, that you can't afford to do something. Do not ever allow money to be a reason why you don't fulfill your dharma, your destiny, and what you're here to do. And I can tell you, coming from the background that I came from, living in foster homes, living on the east side of Detroit and working my way through everything that I've had, that I've never, ever, ever thought that I couldn't afford to do anything, including go to the university and pay my own way and whatever. Are you listening, my children out there? No one will help me. How many times you've heard people say, I'd like to do that, but there's no help out there. I just can't, nobody's out there. There's 6 billion people on the planet. They're all waiting to help somebody. Almost all of them want to help you with what it is that you want to do, unless you carry around this mind virus that says, I'm all alone and I can't do anything about it. It's just a meme. It's never happened before. So because something has never happened before is exactly the perfect reason why it'll probably happen the next time, unless you have that mind virus. I'm not strong enough. You know, I'm too weak to do what I would really like to be able to do. It's a meme. I'm not smart enough. You're all geniuses. Every single one of you. You're all genius. You've just let yourself become de-geniused by life. You know, I have a son-in-law, his name is Joe. He didn't go to college, but he came over and put a wood floor in our house that is so beautiful. He spent several weeks on it, getting down on his hands and knees, measuring everything, and he walks on. If I had to do that wooden floor myself, it would never have gotten done, because he can do that, and there's other things that I can do. He wouldn't want to be up here giving this talk. Maybe he would. But everybody has within them a genius and should never tell themselves, I'm not smart enough. And it's something you would never, ever want to convey to your kids. But indeed, they learn these mind viruses, and they duplicate, and they infiltrate, and they spread, and you get to be, you know, an adult, and you start using these things, and they have no basis in reality at all. The rules won't let me. You know, Martin Luther King was in a prison in Montgomery, Alabama, and he wrote a letter to the American public. And he said, I want to remind you that everything that Hitler did was legal. And everything that the American patriots did, like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and James Madison and James Monroe and Patrick Henry and Benjamin Franklin, everything that they did was illegal. So that the rules ought not to be reasons why you do or don't do anything. One of my great teachers, Henry David Thoreau, reminded us about the importance, not the importance, the necessity of civil disobedience. That all these rules that we have, you know, when my mom my beautiful mom was born in 1916, she was 4 years old before women even got to vote in America. And the women, I mean, half the population of our country was not involved in any decision-making in the first almost 200 years of our history. How absurd that is when we think about it now. And how did that change? Because people said, the hell with those rules. I don't care whether it's legal or not legal. If it's not moral and I have rules within me, I have to go to those. These are means. I don't have the energy. I'm too tired. It's a mean. One of the commitments I made, and my kids have never heard me say it, is that I'm tired. It's a word that I stopped saying in my early 20s, because I used to hear people talking about that all the time. I'm so tired, I'm so tired. And the minute that you tell yourself that you're tired, your body begins to react to the thought that you are programming it to be. So if nothing else, just stop saying it. And, well, I'll get onto that later. My own personal family history is the reason why. You know, I'm the middle child. I mean, what do you expect from me? And no wonder I'm confused. I don't know what I'm up on. Oh, I'm the youngest child. I'm the youngest child. No wonder people are always telling me what to do, and I just wait for somebody to tell me. Or I'm the oldest child. No wonder I have a superiority complex. I've been telling people what to do since I was born. I had to, so on. Or my parents were divorced when I was 4 years old, and that's why I can't get ahead in my life. It's a meme, and we hear this. So much of therapeutic talk is just convincing people about what they can't do, about what their excuses are, telling them because this happened to you when you were a child. Everything that happened to you as a child had to happen. The evidence for that? It did. And if it did, then you either deal with it and move on with it and learn from it, or you use it as an excuse. And I've used that over and over in my own life as well. And it's something that you want to take a real hard look at. I'm too busy. The final two were the most frequently cited. I'm too busy. And I'm scared. It just frightens me. I live in fear. The Course in Miracles says there are only two emotions in this world: fear and love. Fear, everything that is fear cannot be love. Everything that is love cannot be fear. So you must hear an awful lot of talk on the television and reading the newspapers and so on about all the things that we have to be afraid of. You don't want to live in a place of fear. Every piece of fear that you have within you, every thought that revolves around fear is a meme, a mind virus that tells you there's going to be danger, you can't do anything about it. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of these excuses that people employ in their life are all things that we don't have to have.